Welcome to my final Capstone Portfolio created for TWC 490. My name is Brandon Harris, and this portfolio was created to demonstrate my completion of the TWC program outcomes and to provide a culmination of achievements made during the course of this program. The Technical Communications program at Arizona State University dictates specific outcomes must be met before awarding a degree in the corresponding area of study. The outcomes are as follows: rhetorical knowledge, critical thinking, reading and writing, processes, and knowledge of conventions. Rhetorical knowledge. To demonstrate my understanding of rhetorical knowledge, I am using the artifact All Bark and No Bite, which is a comprehensive analytical report written to analyze the feasibility of implementing spay and neuter legislation for domestic animals residing in Maricopa County. Outcome number 1, identify, articulate, and focus on a defined purpose. Now, the introduction to this report identifies a proposed legislative bill. It articulates that any animal in Maricopa County for over 30 days would be subject to the bill, and it defines its purpose as to study the social and economic feasibility of implementing such a bill. Outcome number 2, respond to the need of the appropriate audience. I respond to the need of the audience by identifying the position of the department, which is my fictional government body, which voted nay to mandatory spay and neuter legislation. And I also tailored the document as a lobbying campaign directed towards members of the House, and this is also demonstrated in the introduction. Outcome number 3, respond appropriately to different rhetorical situations. I responded to different rhetorical situations by addressing 4 individual sections: research, results, discussion, and recommendations. Outcome number 4, use conventions of format and structure appropriate to the rhetorical situation. Format and structure can also be witnessed on page 1 through 4. Research is broken down into 3 phases: develop criteria, gather information, and analyze options. In addition, as exhibited here, graph number 1 demonstrates visual cue to address the stark limitations the bill has concerning enforcement. Outcome number 5, adopt appropriate voice, tone, and level of formality. Now, this analytical report conveys an appropriately formal tone as it addresses government entities and is written not only to analyze a legislative situation, but persuade for lobbying purposes as well. Readers can relate to the multiple genres presented in this report, and the report was tailored to inform the audience of a growing social problem concerning pets and overbreeding in Maricopa County. Outcome number 6, write in multiple genres. Here I have included samples of my writing in multiple genres. I have written analytical reports, electronic newsletters, memos, book reports, and even produced movies in which I wrote scripting for narration. Outcome number 7, understand the role of a variety of technologies and media in accessing, retrieving, managing, and communicating information. With each of these genres, I had to incorporate different technologies to aid in my production. I often use the internet and ASU library for research. I use WordPad to document my research and manage it as well. And I also use PDF, JPGs, MOV, DOC, and many other file extensions to create, edit, save, and disseminate my work. The next information bubble will showcase programs more in depth and also relates to outcome number 8, which is use appropriate technologies to organize, present, communicate information to address a range of audiences, purposes, and genres. And you can see that on here. I do actually have a list of the technologies that I use to organize, present, and communicate information. Critical thinking, reading, and writing. In this screen, I use examples from my work on a foster care movie and the Opinions e-newsletter. Outcome number 1, use information, writing, and reading for inquiry, learning, thinking, and communicating. To demonstrate my knowledge of critical thinking, reading, and writing, I chose Foster Care, a movie focusing on the child care foster crisis in Maricopa County. This video was made as a public service announcement for a foster care agency and is therefore tailored to reach an audience of the prospective foster parents and to encourage those who never considered it before. Understand, research, and writing is a series of tasks including accessing, retrieving, evaluating, analyzing, and synthesizing appropriate data and information from sources that vary in content, format, structure, and scope. I created this movie by reading content off of azdes.gov website, searching for still images of children with multi-ethnic and racial backgrounds. I also shot home video and created a soundtrack to add as background music. I accessed a variety of statistics and information on how to become a foster parent and included those in the movie as well. Outcome number 3, understand the relationships among language, knowledge, power, including social, cultural, historical, and economic issues related to information, writing, and technology. Now, this outcome is met by the creation of my movie, which is a public service announcement that I created encouraging people to address a very large social problem in Maricopa County, which is a lack of foster parents. I tailored the music, the scripting, and the pictures to invoke empathy for the cause and provided information on how to become a foster parent. I was able to use the power of public service to educate and solicit for the cause. Outcome number 4, recognize, understand, and analyze the context within which language, information, and knowledge are produced, managed, organized, and disseminated. To prove this outcome, I provided 2 examples. One is a citation to prove how information is managed and organized, and the second is a quote to show how information is disseminated. I chose a quote because it is how, in the document, I managed to highlight that portion of information so that it stood out to my audience. Any information was gathered via ASU libraries. All information was managed via online databases, organized via in-document citations and a bibliography, disseminated via e-newsletter, which is a PDF file sent electronically via email. Outcome 5, integrate previously held beliefs, assumptions, and knowledge with new information and the ideas of others. For this outcome, I included a passage from the e-newsletter arguing the point against the debate that teenagers are online too much. The assignment was to write about a controversial subject, and I chose the recent debate about teenagers and technology. In this passage, I integrate new ideas to people who still believe that teenagers are too technologically dependent. And I do point out the fact that every modern convenience we use is a technological breakthrough, or was at some point. And now we move on to knowledge of conventions. Outcome number 1, learn common formats for different genres. And outcome number 2, learn standard tools for accessing and retrieving information. For this outcome, I provided the front page of my e-newsletter. The header is a GIF I downloaded using Google Images, and the material was found via different tools and using different tools such as a dictionary to check spelling, web articles for statistical data, newspaper articles for editorial and statistical data, search engines for topic data and resources, and Google Images for pictures and graphics. Outcome number 3, learn and apply appropriate standards, laws, policies, and accepted practices for use of a variety of technologies. Here is a works cited page. Copyright laws dictate that any information used is gathered from different sources must be given credit via in-text citations and end of the document works cited page or bibliography. Here I demonstrate that I know the appropriate use of lawful accepted policy when it comes to copyright. Control such surface features as syntax, grammar, punctuation, and spelling. Here, I show an excerpt of a policy manual written for a church. In it, you can see the syntax, grammar, punctuation, and spelling is all correct. I often use spell check and dictionaries to check my spelling. Understand and apply legal and ethical issues, uses of information and technology, including copyright and intellectual property. Here, I have an excerpt from Social Media in the Workplace, which is an ethical and privacy standard report that was written. Now, in this document, I actually do address social workers and their level of ethical responsibility when it comes to technology. processes. Outcome number 1. Be aware that it usually takes multiple drafts to complete a successful text. For this example, I have included the finished banner I made for my own portfolio blog during my visual communications class. Below, you will see the individual components I used in creating the banner. I began with a picture of just words on a paper, and then I slowly added my own logo and pictures of relevant objects until I felt it looked right. It took me several drafts of adding, deleting, and repositioning objects until I felt it was correct. Now, the next 3 outcomes all deal with each other. Develop research and writing strategies to appropriate the context and situation. Develop flexible strategies for generating, editing, and proofreading. And understand research and writing as an open process that permits writers to use later invention and rethink or revise their work. Now, here I have created a template of the most common strategies I use when creating a document. First and foremost is keeping my audience in the forefront of my mind as I gather my information and begin my first draft. Also, considering my words and looking for synonyms to avoid using one word too much. And then, of course, the creation of several drafts and preparing far enough in advance, which leaves me time to reconsider my work and make changes as often as needed. Understand the collaborative and social aspects of research and writing processes. For this outcome, this is a screenshot from a PowerPoint I did on the problem-solving approach. I felt the chart explained this outcome perfectly, as in research as well as writing, we must seek out information from many sources, which involves collaboration. This chart shows that for research, I receive my information and my own personal knowledge, my coworkers, subject matter experts, and finally from handbooks and materials written by other people. Learn to critique work. I was a teacher's assistant for an English 105 class in which I constantly gave feedback. And right here is an excerpt of feedback I gave to a student who was writing about a subject I was very well versed in. Feedback is instrumental in helping people tailor their documents. Learn to balance the advantages of relying on others with the responsibility of doing their part. Being a teacher's assistant for the English class, I depended on my students to turn in their work for me to give feedback on, and they relied upon me to provide adequate feedback and support. The artifact for this outcome is an example of an emails I used to send, letting the class know of assignments coming up and encouraging them to ask for help if they need it. Use appropriate technologies to manage data and information collected or generated for future use. Now, this final outcome displays a screenshot of all of the different file formats I have created and or used, genres of work that I have completed, and of course a place I store all of them, which is on my computer. This proves I have mastered the learning outcome by using appropriate technologies to manage my data. And this concludes my presentation. My name is Brandon Harris. This portfolio is my final portfolio for Capstone TWC 490. Thank you for spending your time with me.